Hey, I'm Kristen.
And I'm Mike.
And this is
The Business Family.
You're listening to episode 3 of The Business Family. On today's episode, we dive into Elsbeth Cool's unique lifestyle that led to the creation of Four Star Family Cyclery. We talk about niche markets, how to start a business without getting funded, and breaking the mold within your industry. So let's jump on in. All right, hey guys, we are here with Elsbeth Cool of Four Star Family Cyclery, which we are super excited about. Elsbeth is a mom of 2 girls, married to her husband Nate, who is an architect here in the city, and they own, Four Star Family Cyclery. They've been bikeless for how many years?
Carless,
not bikeless.
We
Definitely not
have
bikeless.
way too many bikes.
They've been carless for
10 years.
10 years. And you have 2 daughters who are how old?
They are 7.5 and 5.
So with kids and newborns. So super impressive, super fun. We met Elsbeth kind of on a random happenstance and did some work for her. And she's been becoming just a really close friend of ours. And we've just watched your business grow, which has been super cool. So kind of start off with, a little bit of a timeline. Like, tell us a little bit about you and Nate, about your girls, about how Four Star started.
Well, thanks for having me. It's really fun.
It is really fun.
So our car-free life started 10 years ago when we moved to Chicago. We got married. My husband had already been living here for a year, and I sold my car and moved here. We were renting an apartment in a really transit oriented neighborhood where we had train, buses, lots of different options, and we didn't make a lot of money at our jobs at all. So it made sense to not have the costs of a car. Plus, we only had street parking, and it just seemed like really stressful and not fun. So we moved to Chicago 10 years ago, no car. 7 years ago, we had our first kid. Everyone said, well, now surely you'll get a car for the baby. And I was kind of like, why does the baby need a car? I don't know. And we were really open to it, but we just kept being putting it off. We'll talk about it next month. And we've just kept putting off buying a car now for a decade.
I love it.
Because we're lazy. It's honestly easier to not have to deal with all the stuff related to a car. And we save so much money that anytime we start talking about getting a car, we're just sort of like, whoa, this is crazy. I think you don't realize how much money you spend on a car if you've just always had one. But when you don't have one and then you think about getting one, the costs associated are just sort of, the ongoing costs are kind of mind-boggling, at least to our monthly budget. So we had our first kid, and then we had another daughter 2.5 years later.
Pause.
Real life.
We got real kids here today
real
for the
life
recording.
children.
Oh, geez. Knew that was coming.
Cute children.
Anyway, go ahead. So your second daughter comes around.
Yeah. So then we had 2 kids, and I didn't bike a ton when we had our first. And then when she was
use a lot of public transportation.
Yeah, we used a lot of public transit and a lot of walking and
sure,
groceries in the stroller, like every urban parent does. But then when she was 1, I got a cargo bike. I told my husband I wanted a cargo bike. He was the one who biked a ton, and I didn't really bike much at all. But I saw these bikes online, and I was like, I need one of these. And so I was like, hey, I think I want a cargo bike. And he was like, you don't even like biking. Which is now famous last words. But we got a cargo bike and started really small, riding half a mile to the library. And then I had a second kid, and I added another kid onto the back of my bike. And we kind of slowly worked up to riding year round. mostly because it's still like faster than waiting for the bus or the train, and we're outside for like exactly the same amount of time as waiting for the bus, but we get to be warm because we're riding.
Nice. So what was your first cargo bike then?
Yeah, so I got it was called the Cargo Joe, and it was a collaboration between Extra Cycle and Turn, which are two bike companies. Turn makes folding bikes, and Extra Cycle makes cargo bikes. And so they kind of put their two bikes together to make this crazy folding long tail.
Fun.
Which was the only bike that we could fit in our 4th floor walk up.
Oh my gosh. So you're hauling the bike upstairs.
No,
okay,
no.
that's
so
good.
I needed to buy something that could fit under the stairs.
Oh, okay.
In our like entryway.
Yeah.
That we had locked doors, and then people stored stuff like bikes for the building down there. So I needed to be able to store my bike without taking up everyone's space. That was my very first cargo bike that started everything.
I love it. Love it. And then when did Four Star Family Cyclery come into play?
Mm-hmm. So we started in April of 2017. So we just finished our 2nd full year. On to the 3rd year, which is crazy. It's been kind of a blur. So 2 years old officially in April.
Cool.
So when you contacted us, so what happened was Elsbeth got my name because she saw some video or photo work I did for my brother at the time, right?
Yes.
Yeah, one of my friends who also owns a small business and goes to your brother for chiropractic work. Like posted something about how great
I was doing all this stuff for my brother for free right when we moved to the city, literally, so that this would happen. I would then somebody would see it and then like connect, and this was right when we moved to the city, and I was like, holy cow, somebody sees the work. And she didn't have any money to pay me, but we ended up making an awesome trade. Love it. Fantastic. It made a friendship out of it. A lot of other things have happened because of it. And now here we are. Both just like on the same journey of growing our businesses. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
And she's just being like scrappy. She's like, can I buy you a cup of coffee to talk about taking pictures for me? And I was like,
also, I have no money. I think I actually wrote that in the email.
You probably started with that. Yeah.
I don't want to like lead him on here, but also I really want him to take pictures of me. Also, I have no money.
And I still met with her because I didn't have any money or clients yet either. So I knew that one of the ways for me to then grow my business and grow my portfolio was to connect with other small local businesses to do that. And at the start, that's what I did. Now, I usually need money to do work.
Yeah, me too.
It's perfect.
But we all start somewhere, right? We started together at the bottom with no money.
And she's like, can we be friends? I don't drink coffee. And I was like, oh gosh, you don't have any money and you don't drink coffee.
2 strikes against me.
Yeah, just kidding. It was awesome.
I think I got tea.
You did.
And you still talked to me
about coffee.
That was nice.
Yep. Even as professional photographers and videographers, we found ourselves using our cell phones to capture a lot of our on-the-go content for both our family and our business. That's why we purchased Moment lenses. Moment makes a variety of lenses and photography gear for your mobile device that can elevate your cell phone camera to a more professional quality. If you're interested in learning how Moment lenses can up your cell phone game, check out thebusinessfam.com/moment and get 10% off any of your purchase.
Awesome. Well, tell me a little bit about, I know that, well, for everyone out there, like our kids actually were nannied together. But I want to talk a little bit about your business philosophy and kind of how that's translated into like how you and Nate have.
And what she means by our kids were nannied together was we became friends. Yes. And we both needed we started to the point where we needed a couple days to work. So we decided, well, you have kids, we have kids. Let's just get one nanny. It'll be cheaper. We could split it. And we did that. It was awesome. And then
did that for like a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a year and a half.
Yeah.
I think.
Yep. So that was fun.
It was super fun. But I know like you're kind of in this niche market
of family biking. It's in the name of your business and everything. And tell me a little bit about that. I know you get like fiery about it, and I want you to because it's awesome. Just kind of like you talk about the culture of biking, of bike stores, all that kind of stuff, and what you saw a need for.
So a lot of bike culture is kind of notorious for not being very welcoming or supportive of women necessarily. And then especially women with children who don't come from a sort of hardcore cycling background. It can be really hard to feel like you're not just a big idiot. Sometimes people are very happy to make you feel that way. If you want to go in and talk about riding with kids. Now, there's plenty of bike shops that aren't like that, and I'm not trying to like paint them all with that brush, but there are enough that I know dozens and dozens of women personally who have had really terrible experiences at bike shops, regardless of whether they want to bike with kids or not. There's also just a really sort of specialized knowledge set that has evolved as cargo bikes have really come onto the US market. And so there's just a real need for sort of specialized care for these bikes and for the families that are using them. These bikes are used differently than a lot of other bikes. It's not like a bike that you can get away with not having for a little while. For a lot of families, these bikes are their primary or secondary source of transportation for their family, getting to school, getting groceries, all of that stuff. And so the way that we care for those bikes is also really focused on that, rather than it being like, oh, it's not a problem for you to have your bike in the shop for 2 weeks. Like, that's an eternity for a mom who needs to get her kids to school. So yeah, we kind of come at it from a really different perspective. We're not like a normal bike shop at all. Sometimes I ask myself, like, would a regular bike shop do this? If the answer is yes, then it probably means that we shouldn't.
That's hysterical.
Sorry, like someone's gonna come and egg my house now. But yeah. I think that there's also just a huge need as people, I don't think that anyone can argue that our environment is improving by any stretch of the imagination. And I think parents especially feel a lot of, pressure and like care for wanting to leave their kids a world that's not radically affected by global warming any more than it already is. And so people are really looking for alternatives to avoid, especially our families that we work with is generally trying to avoid purchasing a second car, which, the environmental impacts of are huge. But as people are looking to cycling as this sort of transportation replacement vehicle, again, there's just a lot of kind of specialized knowledge that goes into really helping those people find the right bike, find a bike that they can use almost year round in Chicago. How old are your kids? Like, there's just a ton of questions that can really go into finding the right bike for you that's a good fit for your family and that you're going to get a lot of mileage and use out of, rather than just any old bike that, Joe Schmo recommended at the back of the bike shop, maybe because he was tired of talking to you and just wanted to get rid of you. That bike is probably not going to fit your life as well.
What do some of these cargo bikes look like? Because a lot of people probably have no clue what we're talking about.
Yeah. They look awesome.
Metal. There it is.
They look like the future. So there's two styles of bikes pretty much for carrying kids, which you can either have the kids in the back behind you, which depending on the length of the bike is either called a long tail or a mid tail. So it's a regular bike in the front pretty much. And then it has an extended wheelbase so you can fit 2 or 3 kids kind of basically on a bench behind you. There's also what people call bucket bikes, or bakfiets, is the Dutch word for them. People say they look like a wheelbarrow in the front. That's what is most kind of colloquially referred to as. But those have basically an extended wheelbase in the front, and you can fit a bunch of kids and stuff and all up front, which is nice because then you can kind of see what's going on. And
well, that's what you ride mainly, right?
I mostly ride a bakfiets. Yep.
Right on. And they come with e-assist. They come without e-assist.
Yeah,
they come with awesome lights. They come with cool. They're sweet. They're really cool. Me and Kristen had one. We returned it. We didn't return it. We sold it when we had her because we couldn't ride it as much. Now she's to the point where she can ride, and we wanted to upgrade it anyways to something with e-assist so Kristen can just feel a little bit more comfortable riding easier with both kids and loading it, and just it makes it more of a daily user for her because she wasn't loving not having it be. So now we're looking to get another one because Kristen was really missing having a bike this summer.
Yeah. Another big reason that I started Four Star was because I was really frustrated with I had a cargo bike that didn't have electric assist, and it got to the point where both my kids and the bike plus any of our stuff basically outweighed me. And it was starting to feel really tippy and cumbersome to ride. And I would just be like totally exhausted, which I had like a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. Like, I don't need to feel more exhausted. Right. And it made me not want to ride my bike. So I started talking about, researching getting electric assist on my bike. And so many of the people that I talked to just had really kind of nasty things to say about bikes with electric assist.
Oh, of course.
Like, that's cheating. I like to use the legs the good Lord gave me, like all, and all 100% across the board from athletic men who are like twice my size. Sure. Which is like, so cool. I'm glad you don't feel this way on your bike. I do. Like, this is my experience.
Yeah, totally.
And so there were no bike shops in Chicago that were specializing in electric cargo bikes. And so I really felt like there was an opening there for someone to kind of champion these bikes as a source of legitimate transportation for families, because no one else was doing it. And yeah, it's been awesome. It's more than 50% of the bikes that we sell are electric assist.
That's awesome. And so is sales all of what you do? Is just bike sales? Like, what does the business look like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we do sales, rentals, and service.
Cool.
So you buy a bike from us, we will service it happily, in an ongoing fashion. Hopefully we don't have to see you too often. And then we also offer a really unique rental program, which is just another thing that I saw that no one else was doing. The cargo bikes just cost so much money. They're a big investment, especially from our super car-oriented culture where people are like, oh, I could buy a used car for that amount of money. It's just like, yeah, you could. It'll also cost you way more money in the long run. But coming from that sort of car-centric thinking, being able to test out the bikes for a little bit of a longer period of time really helps people kind of identify like, oh, maybe we could do this, or maybe we couldn't do this. So that's why we do the rentals. We also rent to lots of people who own cargo bikes elsewhere and then are visiting Chicago, because once you live with a cargo bike, you can't imagine life without it. And then we sell lots and lots of cargo bikes too.
Awesome.
So that's what we do.
So this is your full-time job, all that you do. Do you
Not
work?
all that I do.
Exactly. What do you mean by that?
What do I mean by that? So before I started the business, I was the full-time caretaker of both of our children. And I homeschool our kids. So I have, I don't know, at least 2 full-time jobs.
Awesome. That's crazy.
I own a business and I teach my kids things. and also occasionally try and do laundry. Very occasionally. Yeah, that's what I do. I also try to be a good wife and neighbor. So it's a lot.
Yeah.
Was there any thought, because you are doing homeschooling and obviously like you and Nate have decided that you're the main caretaker at home, was there any thought like, I don't know if I can start this now, or was there like a lull in starting Four Star simply because of time and the constraints of that?
Yeah, pretty much almost every day I ask myself, like, why am I doing this? This is insane. But I also love doing it. Like, it's so rewarding and so satisfying. So I knew going into this that, my stuff at home probably wasn't really going to change radically. And so I set up the business basically to accommodate my other responsibilities in life. So we are a very non-traditional retail business in that we work by appointment only. And what that means is I have the flexibility to set my own schedule. And our mechanics work, as needed. They have their own schedules, but we're not just like open for walk-in service. Which is actually really, really nice. Sure. I have talked to so many people who own bike shops and other retail focused stores. And retail is just brutal. I mean, you post your hours and then you have to be there whether or not anyone else is there. Sure. In a lot of ways, I think it sort of becomes a prison to a lot of people. And I also knew that I wanted this to be like a long-term sustainable thing and not just get super, super burned out right out of the gate, which is hard when you're starting a business and there's so much to do and so many demands on your time and energy. So working by appointment only it's the key to my sanity. There you
go. How have you balanced like always being on? Like as a business owner, I know this for myself too. Like I'm always on. I'm always thinking about the business. I'm always wanting to respond to emails because the more quickly and efficiently I respond to emails means possibly more money in the bank, but also then being present with your family as well.
Mm-hmm. It's really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we all have, you have a set amount of hours in your life. And we all sort of decide where we're going to sacrifice something. Something has to go. So mine are laundry and sleeping. I don't really do a lot of either of those.
Do you watch TV?
Not really.
See?
No.
Yeah. Common thread in successful people who start businesses, they don't watch a lot of TV.
Yeah.
Because they just don't have time to do it because they're too busy like working and doing what they're passionate about. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't even have a television at our house. If we watch anything, it's on like a tiny iPad and our whole family like curls up on the couch in front of the iPad.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's a big part of it. I just this summer decided I'm not working Mondays and Tuesdays. Like absolutely. I've had to come in a few times, but
sure.
That has been really, really wonderful for my mental health, and then just time with my kids. Feeling like, we can. Those are sort of our adventure days, and also, we kind of do one adventure day and then one like at home day just to get everything kind of done for the rest of the week. I can talk a little bit about like how I balance homeschooling and.
Sure.
People always have questions about this. So we do school year round because I firmly believe that if you half-ass school all year, it counts the same as doing like really good school for like 8 months of the year. My kids are also, not doing like algebra or anything right now. It's all really pretty simple stuff. So we try and do school for 2 hours every day.
That's every day, Saturday, Sunday?
No. every day of the week. Like definitely Monday through Thursday. Sometimes we take either Monday or Friday off, kind of depending on if we're gonna like go to a museum or to the beach or whatever. It's summer. Go to the beach. Sometimes we bring our math and do math at the beach. So 1 to 2 hours of school every day, and then I have childcare 2 full days a week from our babysitter, who's totally saving my life this summer. Thank you. Shout out babysitters. And then my husband has transitioned to, he works from home 1 day a week. Okay. And then so he gets up really early and works like 6 or 7 hours until lunchtime. And then he takes the kids after lunch, and I head to the shop and work like an 8-hour day from 12 to 8 or 9. Yeah. And then I work a lot of weekends. My work is pretty weekend heavy. So that is how we have sort of cobbled together family time and school and business. My kids have a quiet time every day, which is also really important
because they're not napping anymore.
They don't nap anymore. That's my parenting tip. My only parenting tip ever that I'll give anyone is don't ever let your kids figure out that nap time can stop. They don't have to sleep, but they just have to go in their room
and be quiet
and be like, I mean, I don't even care what they're doing there. As long as there's no like crashing or screaming or blood. Like, great. So I usually have about an hour in the middle of the day to like triage email, make phone calls, that kind of stuff on the days that I'm not at the shop. So that's kind of how it all the pieces of the puzzle fit together.
So do you have people working for you right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I've had a string of mechanics over the last couple of years.
But it's you basically running all of the business administration.
Yep. I do everything else.
And then they just kind of do the work of building bikes and fixing bikes. And crazy.
Yeah. So I pretty much handle all of the like business administrative stuff, and then I do all of the sales. So I meet with our potential customers. Sure. We call them test ride appointments. So they come in, they book online, come in and spend about 45 minutes to an hour trying out all of our bikes. We talk about whatever they want to talk about. There's usually tons of questions. And then our mechanics do all of the builds and service. And occasionally when I can't come in, I ask them to handle like a pickup or a drop off, which is super nice. So
what is one or the main thing, or let me change that question. If somebody wanted to start their own business and they asked you for advice, what would be like the main piece of advice you'd give them?
It has to work for you. It has to be able to be a sustainable part of your life. I think there's a lot of temptation to like look at what other people are doing, especially with, similar businesses, business types. So like literally every other bike shop in the country that I knew of whenever I started had hours, and a lot of them are open 6 or 7 days a week for like 12 hours at a time.
Sure.
So that was basically my what I was comparing myself to, and I just kept coming up against there's no way I can make this happen. Even if I hired a full-time staff right out of the gate, which is also crazy. Right. You can't do that. And so I had to innovate, think about, what does my customer base really want? And it turns out they don't really want to just us to be open all the time either. People say all the time, oh, so nice. I love that I can just go online and book when works for me.
Because then they know when they come in, they have your attention too. Yeah.
They have undivided attention. Right. It makes everything better.
And it's more personal. It's not, that is nice.
There was I felt so much pressure from myself, and so many people were like, that's never going to work. That's not how you do a bike shop. Really? says who.
You're right. Exactly.
So I think that's probably my number one piece of advice is like figure out where you need to meet your customers and figure out how it can work for your life in a long-term sustainable way. There's just so much glorification of like the hustle and like killing yourself over basically like ruining your life.
Right.
In order to like have a great Instagram account about building a business. And I don't think that that's realistic.
So you don't do much social media. You do a little. I see you post every once in a while. Like every time somebody buys a bike, you post.
Pretty much.
And is that pretty much it? And then when you're like at an event, what is your main source of like marketing? And like how do you get people to sign up and come in your door that's not open unless they book an appointment?
Right. Yeah. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, it is. It's awesome because it's working. Right.
That's the wild thing. Right. It actually works. So most of our business is from referrals. Okay. And every time someone buys a bike, we send them out with a stack of business cards in a little plastic bag so they don't get wet on the bike.
Oh, so they keep it on their bike.
They keep it on the bike. I mean, that's what we suggest them. Sure. I say, I'm going to give these to you. No pressure to give them out. But I can tell you right now that all the time people are going to be stopping you and asking you about your bike. And if you don't want to talk to them, you could just hand them a card and ride away.
Because that's what you've done to stop talking to people so many years.
Yeah. I'm late to everything because people always want to talk about bikes.
That's awesome.
So I can't tell you how many times we've had someone call or book an appointment online and say like, someone gave me your card at the park.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Almost 4 years ago, a friend and I started a private Facebook group too, called Chicago Family Biking Community, which I've stepped away from any involvement in that, but, there's almost 2,000, I think it's over 2,000, local parents in that group now. And so that's just a really wonderful natural place for people to talk about their bikes. And there's constant, daily questions like, I want to ride with my kids. Where should I go? And I used to really participate a lot in that group. But now every time I finally go log on to Facebook at 11 p.m., I have 14 notifications from that group, and it's 10 of our customers have already tagged me and linked to our Facebook page and said you should go talk to Elsbeth.
It's better to come from them too.
It's so it makes me honest, it makes me want to cry every time I see that, because it's just hearing from their experiences of how the bikes have changed their lives. It's so beautiful. And I'm so grateful every time. I always try and go on and comment and say thank you so much for referring us. Because that's such a big part of our business.
It's awesome.
A lot of the bike companies that we sell bikes for have dealer locators on their websites. So that's also a big factor. If someone's been doing a lot of research, they've probably also found us through I want an extra cycle. They go on Extra Cycle's website.
What does that process look like? Because you had to become a dealer somehow.
Yeah. Money. That's how.
You just have to buy bikes from them?
You gotta buy bikes.
Got it. So you just have to have an inventory, and then all of a sudden you become a dealer of them? Got it.
Yep. Yeah. And there's lots of, paperwork to sign.
Sure.
All of that fun stuff.
Sure.
But
what other questions were there? Kristen's over there nursing our child because we're a family and we're doing this when we can. And it's awesome. Yep. All right. One last question. How has having kids influenced the philosophy of your business?
We are a 100% family-friendly business.
Hence the name.
That means we have a couch for people to nurse babies on. We have a big pile of kids' toys in the corner. All of our mechanics have to be willing for there to be a million kids rolling around in here. And my kids are here at work with me a lot. So yeah, I think being meeting the youngest members of the family kind of on their level, does so much for the whole family and to sort of reassure the parents that this is like a welcoming, lovely place. Yeah. And, we've had plenty of meltdowns. I have secret lollipop stash for children who just need a little, like that last 20 minutes. We also do, so part of our test ride process is you can take as many of the bikes out for a test ride as you want. But a lot of them, we kind of recommend that parents ride the bike themselves first, sure. Which can be awkward, right? A lot of times it's like one parent and a couple kids here, not always two parents at once. And so we have just kind of gone out of our way to kind of try and get the kids comfortable with us, like from the moment they've walked in the door, so that then when it's time for the parent to go for a ride, we can say like, hey, you can go take a lap around the block and we'll just hang out here with the kids. So like I will sit down on the floor and we'll start playing Playmobil or Legos or whatever, Magnet Tiles, whatever they want to play, just for like 2 minutes that mom or dad is gone. And yeah, so just kind of going out of our way to be accommodating and helpful. Totally. Like that, I think is, speaks volumes.
Sure.
Yeah, I have had so many kids come in and we have like a super cool work stand and kids always want to know how it works, which I think is amazing. And I will never not take the time to show them how a counterweight works.
Yeah.
And like let them see how the stand pulls the bikes up. Because why not? Like that's such an amazing experience as a kid to have an adult who like let you kind of interact with their work stuff rather than it being like, no kids here.
Right. It shows opportunity of something different than they thought for their future, to be honest, too. Yeah. It's really fun.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think that the other thing I would say to anyone who's considering starting a business is don't fall into the trap of being in debt. There's a lot of times where you do need to kind of take that initial risk. But there's also a whole lot of ways that you can probably get creative and work with what you have, or like barter, right? We know all about that. Because I think that's one of the other things that can really kind of steal your joy. And puts, you're already under so much pressure. You don't need more pressure kind of added to that, what's already on your back. So staying out of debt as much as you possibly can is a huge freedom.
Yeah, absolutely.
And keeps your business from ruling you. Sure. I guess for me, that's been the biggest thing. Like, I don't want to be ruled by my business. I want to love what I do. And sure, there's going to be hard days and difficult customer service situations and all kinds of stuff. But at the end of the day, knowing that I don't have a ton of debt hanging over my head, because we started really small and just kind of kept snowballing. And there was a whole lot of stuff that I wanted to do and was like, well, I can't do that until I kind of level up here.
Sure.
So working smart like that is huge for quality of life and like emotional well-being, I think. Which
and you had some people, like, they start businesses and it's their only income. And then like people like you also have another income, whether it be a lot, a little, I have no clue. But like, how do you think that that's possible for people to do, where they're starting a business and it is their only income? Or what would you recommend for them to do in that situation?
Yeah, I definitely think that, my situation is more unique. We figured out how to live on one not enormous income, but, ask me the last time we went on vacation.
Exactly.
Never.
It's a great point.
Never gone on vacation, which, I know to a lot of people is like that's a really important part of their life. To us, we've decided like, well, maybe we'll go on a vacation someday.
Right.
But until then, we're going to take the money that would go towards that or anything else and put it towards slowly investing in a business. And also, you know, supporting 4 people on. Right. Also, we don't have a car, so we save a ton of money. I feel like I keep saying this, but like it's little things like that that all kind of add up. Yeah. And I think definitely for some like larger scale businesses where you're immediately trying to like support yourself and maybe other people too. You may be in a position where you need to actually take out a significant loan. I think the biggest thing is, you know, again, it's like staying within your means. It's not wrong at all to take out a loan, but don't fall into the trap of comparing yourself to what other businesses have done. I'm a huge fan of this guy. His name is Mike Mikhailowicz. Okay. I don't know. He's written a bunch of books. His like funny, one of his first ones he wrote is called The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur. But it's his whole shtick is basically about like building a business within your means, and not overextending yourself again, because it becomes this like toxic circle of juggling, you know, accounts paid and accounts receivable. Right. And how that like, you know, destroys you as a person so often. He's written some really great books about that. And then also his latest one is called Clockwork, which is about like time management and teaching your business to run without you. I keep reading it and just sort of softly crying, but
why?
It's really inspiring. Like his whole thesis is that eventually you should be able to leave for a month. Sure. And everything will run. Keeps going. So it's all about, you know, like creating systems and evergreen content and, you know, hiring people and that kind of stuff. So it's like really inspiring. I don't think I can ever leave for a month right now.
Sure.
But maybe someday.
That's great.
So
it's a great start. Side question, new question.
My favorite.
So you went to college to obviously be a business owner, probably have like your master's in like business management, entrepreneurship, right?
Definitely not.
Well, see, what the heck? How do you even do this? You didn't go to college for it.
I never even graduated from college.
What are your thoughts on college?
Waste of time and money. Sorry.
There you have it. There you have it.
Yeah. Sorry, Mom and Dad. Actually, my parents don't really care.
Well, I think that there's occupations that probably you should go to college for, like being a doctor.
Definitely.
I want doctors to go to college.
For sure. But and more than college.
In 2019, there's just so much opportunity out there with the internet and us living in America specifically to really, if you have vision, you have passion, and you got your head on a little straight, not even fully straight.
And you don't watch TV.
Just kidding. Exactly. You don't need a college degree to do it.
Yeah, I will say.
And that goes back to debt.
Back to the like how do we make it work financially? One of the biggest pieces of our financial story that I think, again, like a lot of businesses, it's just sort of this mystery. Like how did they make it work? So part of the way that we make it work is neither of us had debt. Like when we got married, we had zero debt, which is crazy. But that was because my husband had his college paid for, and I dropped out of college, so I didn't have to keep paying for it. Russian studies, you know, totally relevant to what I'm doing today.
That's hysterical.
Yeah. So, but that's a big part of why we were able to put some cash into the business initially, because we don't have a monthly loan payment that we're trying to deal with. And I know so many people that do have that right now, and it's crippling. Sure. So I don't know. Sorry, kids. Like, you should probably still go to college, but
I
maybe
don't agree.
Not.
The whole like concept of you should go to college, I think is skewed and will be changing soon, and the whole education system will be flipping. So I think there's a time and place for it for sure, but I think we both agree on that. Yeah,
I've been recently half joking that so I have 2 girls, And they're growing up in a bike shop, which is typically a pretty male-dominated industry. It's changing slowly. But so they're already sort of like, I don't know, I think they just feel more empowered than a lot of girls their age to like use tools and do that kind of stuff. And I have been joking that if they want to go to trade school, we'll pay for it. If they want to go to college, they're going to have to figure out how to pay for it. My husband doesn't think that that's funny.
I just did a video on the Chicago Women in Trades. We just did a whole video on them. I'll show you after this. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic program. That's a free program too. The one I shot.
Okay.
They just got to apply and
yeah. There's so many amazing opportunities out there that don't involve spending $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
On very few useful life skills.
Yeah, totally.
So I said I would try and behave myself during this podcast, but then you got me talking about college.
Yeah, I knew it would be good. Is there anything else that you'd like to share just in your journey and your family and your business?
Oh, man. I don't know, it's really fun to talk about this stuff.
It is.
I love like when business owners are like more transparent about what real life looks like and you know, financially, and
not having it feel like it needs to fit into a certain mold.
Yeah, I think that there would be so much more like freedom for people to innovate and like come up with new business ideas if we weren't sort of locked into this, like, this is the only way you can do it. I mean, even just with funding, like when I was initially starting the idea of the business, you know, I got a stack of books out from the library, like how to start your business. And it's all like chapter 2, securing funding.
Right.
And I was like, what? Like, I have to do this? And it was all, you know, put together, all of these projections and everything. Like, that's all great stuff to do. But it was all with, you know, this idea in mind that like you go to a huge bank or, you know, local credit union, whatever, and you're, you know, someone giving you $100,000, $200,000, $1 million. And I was like, I don't really think that I need that, because it's going to give me all these like false ideas of what my business should be like. And then B, that I want that. Like, I don't want to be beholden to another corporation that doesn't like care about what we're doing in the community. Like, they just want their money back with interest, which again, like, that's not wrong to do, but you're just kind of making a deal with someone who actually doesn't care about you at all. But that was like step 2 of every business, like podcast. You know, the only people I could find that were like self-funded were like, oh, I make earrings on Etsy, which is like, that's great. I own plenty of Etsy earrings, but like, you went and spent $300 at the craft store, and that was like your original investment. Like, good for you, but I'm doing something a little bit different. It was just so hard to find anybody that was in the middle. So either you're like, you go take $1 million of venture capital money, or you start with $300.
Yeah.
It's hard to find anything in the middle. So.
But you figured it out.
I figured it out. Well, I think.
Or you just did it.
Constantly. Figuring it out.
I think that's part of it, is just like starting.
Yeah.
Like,
and not being ashamed to like start small.
Right.
Because it was like, I don't even know if this will work. This is a crazy idea, and all these people are telling me it won't work, and it's a stupid idea. And so it seems like I need to like put some time and a little bit of money into this and see what it could become. And it turns out people were excited about it, which is awesome. But yeah, it doesn't have to be like 0 to 100 overnight, or 0 to $1 million overnight. That first year, there were plenty of times that like I didn't have a credit card. I didn't open a credit card because I was like, I don't even want the temptation of putting anything on this credit card that's like, we'll probably be able to pay it off next month. It was like, no, this needs to be it was literally a cash only business. I started with $10,000. And there were plenty of times that it was like, okay, I gotta make sure that this deposit comes in and this clears before I can do this.
Sure.
But what it did was I proved to myself that we could do it without anything else.
It's awesome.
And now, we have a credit card and we're more like a real big business. But that was how we started.
That's
and
awesome.
I don't really like hear people talk about that kind of
That's
stuff
awesome.
a lot. So there you
You
go.
definitely have more than $10,000 now. I'm just looking at your bikes.
Oh, yeah. It's just kind of astonishing
great.
to me to look at how we've, we started with like 3 bikes and I had to
and now you have how many lined up here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 2 big boxes behind me.
Yep, there's one out front.
9, 10, 11, all just sitting right here.
Yeah, I think we have like 12
and probably
bikes
the average price for these are what, $3,500?
Oh.
Just something like
More
that. Just
like
to put it in perspective.
5.
It's like now all of a sudden
like 5,000.
You have something like in a retail space. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You started with 10 grand and that's just what's in here. It's really cool.
Well, thanks.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
It's so fun talking to you. Thanks for hanging out, dealing with my crazy kids running around.
Thank you. Well, you guys rock too.
Thanks.
And I really especially appreciate you. I know I can't imagine how much like time and energy this takes to plan and set everything up and then edit all the terrible things I said.
We'll probably keep all of those in.
College sucks.
That's definitely a staying.
But thanks for doing it. It's really inspiring to see like where there's so little information and inspiration out there for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
family businesses rock.
They do. They make the world go around.
Yeah, it's really funny. So they really do.